Thank you, Acting Speaker, and always great to see you in the chair as well. And of course, I rise to support the Dangerous Good Bill of 2026 and Occupational Health and Safety Bill of 2026 as well. And I'd like to just acknowledge the in-depth and bipartisan contributions basically from all sides of the chamber to date, with the member for Eildon, followed by the member for Ashwood, who gave us the story and the experience and the feedback from Jeff, from his electorate, who had a lot to say about this bill that I'm sure we all enjoyed and had a lot of value in hearing about. The member for Essendon, of course, with his personal experience directly in this policy space and the impact firsthand that dangerous workplaces obviously have on those directly impacted and their families and communities as well. And of course the member for Narrabeen talking about the booze cruise that still is in place as well, essentially, if I'm not mistaken there as well, up in the Gold Coast. So of course these bills represent the most significant change to Victoria's dangerous goods framework in more than 40 years, improving the safety for the Victorian community and strengthening enforcement and supporting businesses to make their workplaces safer. Dangerous goods are an integral part of our economy and are used across industries including agriculture, construction, manufacturing and healthcare to provide services to produce essential goods such as cleaning products, food, fertiliser, fuel, plastics and paint. And dangerous goods include chemicals that carry inherent risks to persons or property, such as goods that are corrosive, flammable, combustible, explosive, oxidising or have other hazardous properties as well. Dangerous goods also include explosives and security-sensitive ammonium nitrate, which present security risks to the Victorian community. And when they are not dealt with safely, dangerous goods can result in incidents exposing Victorian workers, emergency service personnel and the wider community to risks of harm, their health, safety and property. And these risks to health and safety include Victorian whose jobs require them to work with such chemicals, including transport workers, which I'll touch on soon, emergency service personnel, of course, as I said, to respond to these incidents involving the chemicals, and members of the public who live, study or work near these places where those chemicals are stored or located. That is why safe storage, handling, disposal and transport of dangerous goods is absolutely critical, and why this Victorian Labor government is improving safety by modernising the regulation of dangerous goods and strengthening WorkSafe's ability to enforce compliance with dangerous good laws as well. And high-profile incidents across Melbourne involving illegal stockpiling of chemical waste occurred in 2018 and 2019. In August 2018, a major fire broke out at a warehouse West Footscray that contained millions of litres of toxic chemical waste, and the fire took more than a week to subdue. More than 200 firefighters and 40 firefighting appliances were involved in the response. MFB personnel reported more than 100 injuries, including health issues from exposure to smoke and other substances, musculoskeletal pain and fatigue. A number of firefighters continue to sadly experience health problems as a result of fighting that toxic fire. And the fire had a terrible impact on the local environment, with firewater runoff contaminating the neighbouring Stony Creek, killing wildlife and vegetation. And more than 2,300 dead fish were collected from the estuary, and many dead eels were collected further upstream. Community health warnings were issued to avoid human and pet contact with the creek for several months after the incident. Rehabilitation works conducted by the Environment Protection Authority, the EPA, Melbourne Water and other agencies have included the removal of more than 70 million litres of polluted water and approximately 2,800 contaminated sediment from Stony Creek. Not long afterwards, in April 2019, another large fire broke out at a chemical waste processing facility in Campbellfield in Melbourne's northern suburbs. The fire also took several days to subdue, and I remember even my father-in-law, who lived very close proximity along Barry Road, was heavily impacted by that at the time. The MFB deployed more than 175 firefighters and 40 appliances to contain the blaze. 2 factory workers were hospitalised as a result of the fire. One of these received serious burns and another an eye injury. And the fire also emitted toxic smoke across all of Melbourne's northern suburbs, including across Pascoe, Coburg and even Brunswick West, and nearby residents and workplaces were warned to close doors and windows, and 5 local schools in the immediate area there in Hume were shut down. After working on the fire for 4 days, the MFB handed the site to WorkSafe. The EPA stepped in under its powers to oversee the remaining clean-up of the site, which was completed in December 2021 at a cost of $6.5 million. And in addition to the EPA laying several charges against the owner of the facility for breaching the EPA Act, WorkSafe also filed 3 charges relating to the fire. After these fires, joint inspections by regulators, including again WorkSafe, the EPA, uncovered 14 sites illegally storing dangerous chemicals in Melbourne's northern suburbs and further waste dumped at a property in rural Victoria. And WorkSafe led the huge clean-up operation of these 13 to 14 sites at a significant cost. These events are a clear example of dangerous goods risks not being safely controlled. They led to a key question being asked: is the legislative framework regulating dangerous goods safety still fit for purpose in today's context? And in response to this issue, Acting Speaker, the Labor Government commissioned the Andrew Palmer KC to conduct an independent review of the Dangerous Goods Act and associated regulations. The final report, the Palmer report, was provided to government in January 2022 and found the Dangerous Goods Act and associated regulations were no longer fit for purpose, nor were they consistent with other regulatory frameworks that apply to dangerous goods duty holders, most notably through the OH&S Act. In the final report, it was noted that Victorian regulators, including fire services, WorkSafe, the EPA, had already done a substantial amount of work to address the risks exposed by fires, including introducing stronger environment protection legislation through the EPA Act in 2017. And the EPA 2017 Act increased the maximum penalties for serious offences. The courts were able to fine severe polluters between $1.6 million to $3.2 million, and individuals who committed aggravated offences can receive a jail term of up to 5 years under those changes. However, the Palmer report noted that the key legislation that regulates dangerous goods in Victoria, the Dangerous Goods Act of 1985, remained largely unchanged since it was introduced now 41 years ago, the year of my birthday, Speaker. WorkSafe is the safety regulator for both dangerous goods and occupational health and safety. However, major incidents involving the dangerous goods are very different from occupational health and safety incidents. And Andrew Palmer, KC, he said in his report, page 3, which I'll quote, "While conducting this review, I noticed that major incidents involving dangerous goods seem to occur every 10 to 15 years in Victoria. The observation led me to speculate that in the immediate aftermath of a major incident, there would be increased regulatory focus on dangerous chemicals and calls for legislative change. But as the incident receded from memory, the regulatory focus might wane and the calls for change subside. And after enough time had passed, there might be another major incident and the cycle would begin again. My hope is that this review will be a step in breaking that cycle through these recommendations." And he put forward, I believe it was nearly 50 recommendations, supported in full by government across a range of areas. And he particularly noted that on page 23, transporting dangerous goods is inherently risky activity. Mishandled, accidentally released or spilled dangerous goods can cause injury and death and serious damage to property and the environment as well. And this bill, across both the changes in the Dangerous Goods and the OH&S Act, will implement virtually most of those recommendations that he has put forward. And with the Dangerous Goods Bill, the bill modernises the regulation of transport of dangerous goods in Victoria by introducing a new broad general duty for a person engaging in the transport of dangerous goods by vessel or inland water, by road or rail, to ensure, so far as reasonably practicable, that dangerous goods are transported in a manner that is safe and without risk to public safety, property and the environment. And the bill creates a standalone act to regulate the transport of dangerous goods, including dangerous good waste. This will support businesses to understand and comply with their duties and will align with Victoria's regulation of the transport of dangerous goods with most other Australian jurisdictions as well. With the OH&S Bill of 2026, this part of the bill incorporates the regulation of dangerous goods into the OH&S Act, making the OH&S Act the primary regulatory framework applying to the handling, manufacture, processing, use, treatment, dispensing, supply, packaging, import, export, storage, sale or transfer of dangerous goods. And the bill modernises the regulation of dangerous goods in Victoria by introducing a new broad general duty requiring a person to comply with these new better and safer standards as well. In this respect, I particularly want to acknowledge it is all about making workplaces safer, particularly those in the freight and the transport sector, particularly those from the Transport Workers Union, who I'd like to acknowledge as well, who literally work every single day to carry this country and to make it what it is. Without our transport workers, the country, Acting Speaker, would come to a stop. That's a fact. And they also handle very dangerous goods as well, chemical, toxins, petroleums, gas, many of whom are TW members who I acknowledge, and which this bill will help make the workplace safer for them as well. But it's also about making communities and suburbs safer as well. Like I pointed out earlier, we heard about that experience in Campbellfield of the toxic fire, but my community in Pascoe, Coburg and Brunswick West is one of the Victorian Government's new activity centres. So we are forecast for more growth over coming years with new housing. That'll mean increased densification, and in that respect as well, we are traditionally part of the manufacturing heartland of Melbourne's north, and we still have a very strong and vibrant manufacturing corridor through the Newlands corridor in North Coburg. But I do also have in my community many major arterial roads that carry a lot of these vehicles, carrying a lot of these goods and services as well, whether it's through CityLink, Tullamarine Freeway, Pascoe Road, Sydney Road, Nicholson Street, Melville Road, Boundary Road, Gaffney Street, Murray Road, Bell Street, Bakers Road, Newlands Road and Moreland Road. Of course, we need to make all of these corridors safer for the communities that live in and around them every day, and that's why I commend this bill.